Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. I'm here on a temporary basis here tonight, literally last minute impromptu hosting duty here tonight. Obviously, covering for Evan here to preview the Republic of Ireland versus England in the UEFA Nations League. And I'm joined by two very distinguished guests here this evening. So, to my right, I'm joined by Bill from the Irish Football Blog, and also joined by Russell Osborne from the Three Lions podcast as well. So we have English and Irish guests here today to talk about all things international football. I suppose by Bill, as Man United fans, we're probably happy that the international break is coming at a very good time.
Swap one suffering for another.
Yeah, for swapping one suffering for another, you can say that. Yeah, but for Russell, I'll come to you. Obviously, Joe, England had Gareth Southgate as manager for quite some time. And now, obviously, Lee Carsley coming in on an interim basis. First of all, you've obviously come off a very long European Championship campaign, nearly got the job done in the final. Kind of how are you feeling coming into this new international break under this new regime?
Yeah, it was a shame to sort of see Gareth go, but to be honest, I think it'd run its course. I think is a fair assumption, and I think it's exciting times really now, isn't it? It's a chance to breathe some fresh life into the England team. You could say it doesn't need it, but it's a chance to see something slightly different. Lee Carsley obviously took the under-21s to great success, and now he's got the opportunity to make that step up and see if he can replicate that with the senior team. It's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, Lee Carsley, who's actually quite widely linked with the Ireland job as well in the last kind of year or so, me and Bill were kind of having conversations in the last year about who's going to get the job after Stephen Kenny left in November, and he would have been near enough to top for this, wouldn't he? Apart from there was one manager, I think, that was ahead of him in our pecking order in terms of who we wanted. But obviously he's won trophies at the underage level with England, and obviously he has very good football and background as well. Do you think his experience working with kind of the younger players will kind of stand you in good stead in terms of building a future? Because obviously he's come through the under-21s.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you can look at it as a similar situation to how Gareth Southgate came through. He too was under-21 manager for England before the opportunity came along for him to step up and take the senior team. You've got to look at it as being positive. It's a simple transition, isn't it? It's not like you're bringing in someone new. There's no new language barrier, which obviously Ireland in that particular situation themselves at the moment, but Carsley knows the players, he knows the setup, he knows St George's Park, he knows what the players' traits are like. It should be just a simple transition. All he's got to really worry about is getting it right on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what comes with every new manager. You kind of worry about, will his ideas actually translate? Will it set in quickly? But I think when I look at especially the squad you've picked, there's a couple of players that were in kind of that squad with him. Obviously, the likes of Angel Gomez, Morgan Gibbs-White, etc. So there's obviously players he knows in there that can definitely come in and take over. And obviously, I think it's a good chance for a couple of them, considering the likes of Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham are out for this international break. So there's obviously a new era, a new regime, but also a new crop of players to come through for the England squad, and potentially put a stamp in there and create competition for places, especially in midfield. Bill, I'm going to come to you. Obviously, it's no secret that our managerial hunt hasn't been as simple as what England's has been in terms of how they've kind of sorted their managerial issues out and getting a new manager. Obviously, Hemir's come in now with a very, I suppose, experienced international background with Iceland. And obviously, most recently, probably not so good with Jamaica in the Copa America. What's your expectations with our new manager? And essentially, do you think with his experience and with his style of play that we can hopefully make a difference in comparison to maybe Stephen Kenny era and finally get over the line?
Yeah, look, I think it's both international sides are in a kind of a similar situation tomorrow. England is a new era with a Southgate. Ireland is a new era with Kenny. That being said, I think Cardsley is better placed to perform or to have a team ready for the match tomorrow because there's a continuity already there. He knows the players. It shouldn't be too much of a change for him. Whereas Hemir, I think he might be leaning on O'Shea at the moment and Paddy McCarthy for decisions. And you mightn't see his stamp in the squad until I suppose further down the line. But like, it's a fascinating tie for a multitude of reasons. But like, I put up an Irish football blog. People know like I'm not afraid to be controversial. I said Carsley should not be booed before or after at any point during the game. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. I stand by that. He's a professional. He's employed to do a job. To be honest, I'd say it's his dream job, to be honest, because like I know he represented Ireland, but like the continuity to work for England 21s and work up to England, it's a huge job. Like it's in the broader scheme of things. I don't think he has like he said English connections, and I said the English national anthem, and I know for a fact that it will be booed. Like, but the English national anthem should not be booed in Aviva. It's going to be, but it's just juvenile rubbish. Like, but in terms of playing side of things, I think if you look at the squad now, I think for years the kind of elder statesmen in the squad were kind of the weaklings. Now you have the likes of Smallbone, Darragh O'Shea, Alma Babadelli, Bazunu, I know he's injured, Kelleher. They've all got that first team experience, and they're still 21, 22, 23. So we've increased it. We've improved the threshold of the kind of worst player. Take out there's a few more to leave, I suppose now, but Doherty and O'Dowd in a few years. But we're increasing those lads that have 50 appearances for Ireland. I think Jason Knight is close to 50 appearances already. So they're building up a bedrock for appearances really early, and then that'll allow our more exciting talents, maybe the likes of Ferguson, to flourish. Milia is playing in the league round at the moment, so I think in the broad scheme of things, I'm positive about the future. I mightn't be so positive about the result tomorrow, but I'm positive about the future.
Yeah, like look, I think we've a lot of good young players coming through, especially if you look at the current squad now. Obviously, you have your Fergusons, your Omar Bamadellis, Nathan Collins as well. So I think he's probably, when I look at our squad right now, like he's a top centre back that we do have. I do think probably the position we're struggling in is probably in defensive midfield. Like if I look at it, like the fact we're having to call Jason Malumbi back up again, Joe, after kind of his bit of time out of the team, kind of concerned, but at the same time, look, he is a warrior, and I do think he's someone who can definitely come in and do a job for us tomorrow night on a short-term basis. But I think you're right in terms of the younger players coming through. There's a lot of still promising talent. Like you look at the under-19s and 21s, they seem to be in a very, very good place. There seems to be, though, a lot of good young talent coming through. I just hope with the current manager coming in that he can harness that talent in a way that plays to their strengths. And obviously as well as that pick up results, I think obviously international football, the style of play probably isn't as important in international football rather than club football, where it's 38-game season, you're playing Champions League, FA Cup, etc., where maybe you need a bit more continuity in your style of play. But like I'd even go back to England in the Euros. Like some games it wasn't easy on the eye, but they got results because they had the quality in the team. And they had obviously a team. They had togetherness within the squad, and I do think if we can get that. And under this new manager, we can start qualifying for tournaments again and getting results in group football, because that's what we did under Martin O'Neill. We prematurely done it under Trapattoni, but we got absolutely battered in Euro 2012. And so, like, I think it's just a case of it's just about getting continuity, consistency, and I think giving some of these young players a chance. But more importantly, as well, I think there's a couple of them right now. There's a couple of players probably in our squad who need to make a decision on their club futures as well, because there's a couple of them there who are no doubt great players. Queevy and Kelleher being one of them, but he's not playing games, and that's kind of concerning when you're coming up against a team like England who will be shooting from range. They'd be creating chances, and he hasn't got much games in goal for Liverpool recently.
Yeah, I'll ignore the Martin O'Neill comment, but anyway.
Yeah, Trevor's just trolling again. Well, yeah, like look, I think likes of Queeveen Kelleher, I think Gavin Bazunu coming back from injury in the new year, he will. Obviously, there'll be a battle for the number 1 shirt, but I do think midfield is going to be an issue probably for us tomorrow. But we will discuss starting 11 and score predictions later on in the show. But Russell, I want to take you back to the European Championship campaign, and obviously in that you kind of England had issues in terms of getting their best players into a system. There was obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold was trialed in midfield, Conor Gallagher, Kobbie Mainoo. There was a couple of different options and different blends in midfield. For you right now, when you look at the current options you have, even outside of, let's say, England's squad now, ideally for you, what would be England's best midfield?
I mean, obviously we're talking when we don't have the likes of Foden, Bellingham. Obviously we're talking midfield. But in this situation, I mean, no Palmer either, which would have been an ideal opportunity to bring him into this game, I think, with the absence of Bellingham. But I don't know, in this particular game, do we want to? Obviously, we've got these 4 uncapped players: Gomez, Di Morento. Who else we've got? Gibbs White. Do we introduce them and play them in this game? Is it a case of Carsley is going to look at the players, or are we going to put a full strength, a experienced full strength team out? I don't know. When he's actively bought these players in that he knows, you wonder, is he actually going to play them? But from a midfield perspective, I mean, Kobbie Mainoo, he had a really good start for his opening sort of couple of caps for England. Maybe faded away during the Euros. But yeah, with regards to playing tomorrow, I don't know. Obviously, you're going to play Declan Rice as your your midfielder at the back, in the centre. Is he going to go wingers? Don't know. I don't know. I think he'll put Kobbie Mainoo in.
Alongside
Rice in there, just to maybe have that little bit of continuity from the summer, and then bring in some of the newer players later on in the game, providing that the result is going the way that he wants it to.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you'd probably do, is that you probably won't want to change it too much from the Euros. I think, look, especially in a derby game, it's probably not the best idea to try something new, regardless of maybe our form not being the best has it been the last couple of months. Trevor's in the comments says that the 1990 version. No, this is the 2002 away bill. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
2002. Yeah, I was thinking as much. That just reminds me of the 2002 World Cup when Ian Hart missed the penalty. That will always haunt me, even as a child. That's still haunting me right now. But yeah, look, I think you're spot on, Russell. I think for England, it's probably in some areas in the pitch, especially in the middle of the park, so many new caps coming in there. It's probably best off that Joe Mainoo and Declan Rice sit there. And I think it's a great opportunity for Angel Gomez. I think he's someone who's done very well abroad. With Lille, obviously he came through the United Academy. He was probably unfortunate when he came through the United bought Bruno Fernandes at the time, because he was literally on the periphery of getting into Man United squad. Then obviously they bought, because they were desperate to get into the top 4 at the time, they bought Bruno 6 months early. I think he's someone who, if you look at England's options at number 10, you're playing Bellingham there. Foden's playing more out wide for Man City, and he even though I do believe Phil Foden's probably best position is probably off the front, behind the striker. Obviously with City he kind of has Bernardo and Kevin De Bruyne playing there at the same time that he doesn't really get the chance to play there. So I think for Angel Gomez, it's probably a great opportunity to get into the team, especially when there's injuries now, and even for Morgan Gibbs White as well. He's been exceptional for Nottingham Forest. So I do think this particular game, there's going to be so many eyes on this game. For some of these younger England players, it's a chance to really make a name for themselves, isn't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could say any England game, any new players coming in. There's always like the talk around them. Who are they? Where have they come from? What's their potential? Every game is an opportunity for them. But when you've got a new manager coupled with that, then yeah, it can be sort of the noise around it can be a little bit bigger. But perhaps Carsley will he's just going to bring them in, see how they played alongside the rest of the squad in the build up in the last couple of days as they've been together at St George's. I mean, to be honest, the atmosphere tomorrow, some may thrive on it, some may shrivel up, and the players of their age, it could go either way for them, I think.
Yeah, it really could. I think, like, especially these type of games are the ones where sometimes not always like the best players might shine. Sometimes it might be the players who have the best mentality rather than actually the most natural talent that kind of gets through games like this. Because like there's going to be 48,000 Irish fans in the stadium. There's going to be I think England got 2.9k tickets,
2,900, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and look, to be fair, I think there'd be England fans in the home end as well. To be fair,
yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Here, so when you look at it, I do think there will be, obviously a fiery atmosphere. But you're right. I think it's a good litmus test for some of these younger players to come in and try and make a statement for them. Bill, obviously on our side, we have a few obviously newish heads to the squad. Most particularly up front, we have a few different options for different combinations in our team. Obviously, Sammy Smodics, who's been playing very well for Blackburn, now signed for Ipswich, recently scored against Man City in the Premier League. Looks like he's destined to kind of start in the team, whether it's out wide or through the middle. We've Ogbene back in the squad after a bit missing the last international break. I think we kind of noticed that when in the last couple of games, we're missing that kind of penetration in behind. For you, when you look at our options, do you think the fact that Evan Ferguson was struggling with injury all last season and hasn't had a pre-season, that maybe we should refrain playing Ferguson from the start, or do you think it's a game like this where you need to play your best players? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the 3 at the back or 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. But I think Hemir will persist with that in the short term, and at least that opens up options. I suppose what I can see him doing is he'll put, we'll say, Ogbene maybe right wing back, right midfield, Doherty on the other side, and the selection when it comes to Ferguson, actually it's ironic because he was eligible for England himself. Fun fact, I've looked at the squads there. Ireland have about 5 or 6 English-born players in their squad, and England, by contrast, have 5 or 6 players who are either or played for Ireland or were eligible for Ireland too. So the squads are intertwined.
Both countries are using the nanny rule, aren't they?
both countries are more aligned or intertwined than we think they are. Yeah, I don't think Ferguson starts. You could make the argument that he's the best player, but it's too much pressure on him. I see people seem criticizing him online. He's still only 19 years of age, and unless you're Wayne Rooney or someone like the top strikers don't really come out until they're 22, 23. You saw that with Harry Kane, another man with Irish roots. But I think what they'll do tomorrow is they'll go with the 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, and they'll have Ida, who's in good form for Celtic, and Schmodics, who has started to play in the Premier League like he finished off in the Championship. So I think the front two tomorrow will be Ida and Schmodics.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I think even either that or maybe he goes with 3 up front. Maybe it depends if he wants to go Smodics out left, Ida through the middle, and then Ogbene on the right, and then maybe he goes with Coleman as a wing back rather than as a right centre back. Maybe he does that to kind of try shore it up a bit, especially with England's wingers being very dynamic. I think that's something that can potentially happen. But obviously, with this situation now, there's been a lot of talk, in terms of we haven't qualified for the last Euros, haven't qualified for the last World Cup. The Nations League is obviously a good gateway to kind of get you to the international tournaments. It's something that it's kind of a momentum builder for obviously other qualifying campaigns, etc. Obviously, we didn't have the probably best Nations League campaign under the previous manager, but do you think this should be a time, especially with the group we have with the likes of Greece, who we've had tussles with in the past, and obviously a rival now in England, that we should be using this as a launching pad for future tournaments?
Yeah, look, I'm always positive about the future of football in our country, but I do believe that it is in a good place. You see with the under-19s, the under-21s push on now. Results will come. I think results will come eventually, and I think we will be better off for Stephen Kenny's work previously. But Hemir himself made the comment, and I think it's a bit counterintuitive now, kind of on this podcast, but he said the Greek game is the big game. I know we're getting tied up in the fanfare of the historical context and the rivalry between both countries, but like realistically, the gauge on whether or not Ireland can progress and get results will be Greece or the following Tuesday. I just hope they can put on a decent performance on Saturday. If they can get in stuck with, I know he made a comment about Malumbi. I'm actually a big fan of his. I think Hemir says he needs a bastard in the team. Malumbi fits that for me. Song getting sent off pre-season.
Right, he hasn't got a UEFA ban after his exploits in pre-season.
Like that's the man. That's the man we need. Like, and I know Rice got sent off at the last weekend for Arsenal. So if that's stuck in his mind, I don't know. But what they have to do is they literally first minute of the game just go in and kick him. And I do that with all the players, not just Rice, Grealish, whoever plays. You just have to do a Simeone job on it, make the place as hostile as possible. I'm not a fan of booing Rice individually, but if you're booing Rice, boo every single player in the crowd, and you never know what'll happen. But again, the result is more important for the Greece game. I just hope that they put on a performance that we're proud of tomorrow.
Yeah, I do think performance is very important. Is very important here. I think to start off, I'd even look, regardless of the result, I do think we need to kind of put on a performance that we can kind of build on going forward, especially when you look at from O'Shea's interim time, we had a couple of decent performances, but the results weren't there. Whereas I think now is the time with new manager now that should be kind of some good performance, and there's some promising kind of performances, and even some individuals who've been playing well, and they're playing well in the Premier League now. I do think it's for some of them this an opportunity to kind of really stake a claim. Especially when you look at up front, Ida, he had a great season with Celtic last year. Obviously, his move from Norwich took a bit longer than it probably should have, but I do think for him, with the competition that we have up front, Troy Parrott playing well over in Holland as well, Ferguson getting back to fitness. So I think for a player like Aviva, tomorrow's against centre backs like Stones and Maguire, who are very good, strong centre backs, if he can put on a good performance against the two of them, I can definitely have him fighting for his place for future international breaks. But I will just come back to Russell. This obviously with England's kind of young squad, there's talks of new blood coming in, and there's talks of, I know we spoke about your midfield earlier on. With your right backs at the moment, obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold, was kind of forced into midfield in the Euros. Kyle Walker is getting a bit older. Reece James is a bit injury prone. He's in and out of the Chelsea team due to injuries. Do you think this is an opportunity for Trent to finally become England's starting right back, considering when you look at him going forward, he's exceptional?
Yeah, I mean, it appears to be that's what Carsley has sort of implied is going to be his position. I mean, in the past, obviously we all know that Gareth has selected him and sort of played him in in the midfield. You can go back to that. I think it was the Malta game away last year when he first tried that out, I think, and he's kind of persisted with that. But now sort of Carsley's selected him, and he's actively put him in the defenders section of his squad. So yeah, it would seem that is where he's gonna play him, and it's in the past he's had like a penchant for sort of pulling out of England teams for whatever reason, Trent. But if you can feel the love and get selected regularly, staying fit, and he can make that position his own, then yeah, good luck to him. We the sort of fullback positions, left back has been where we've been suspect. But yeah, if Trent can go there and make that his own, then yeah, it gives that stability going forward, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do definitely think, like, if you look at your right back options, you have so many good options. You have Livermento, who's just after coming in now. You have Trent, you have James, you have Walker. I know Trippier is obviously getting on a bit as well, and possibly probably get out of the Newcastle team now as well. So like, I do think maybe at right back England are stacked, whereas at left back you're from Luke Shaw downwards, it's kind of the quality kind of drops. I know Mitchell is good. Then I know he isn't in the squad now, but then Alfie Doughty is there as well. Obviously you can play Trippier left back if needs be, or even,
But I think it's worth pointing out that Trippier actually retired from international football the other week. Yeah, on the day that the squad was announced, he retired.
Oh, that's interesting. So obviously he's not an option going forward. But even still, like, there's obviously younger players there who can fill in that spot. But then also, like, with England having so many good players at centre back, though, John Stones has often filled in at full back as well for Manchester City in kind of an inverted role as well. So like, England do have options if, let's say, when Shaw gets back from injury and he inevitably drops out of either Man United squad or England squad, that they have options in different areas. But obviously Carsley's coming in on that interim basis now, and he's from looking at numerous media outlets, it seems like he's getting a lot of support internally from the England squad itself. From an England supporters' point of view, would Carsley be your number one choice now, or is there other managers out there right now who you think can take England to the next level?
I mean, this was always the big conversation, wasn't it? Even whilst Gareth was still in charge, it was like, who is going to replace him when the time comes? And I was always of the opinion that there wasn't anyone any better than Gareth to sort of take us forward should that have happened. And then when it did happen, some of the names, like you had sort of Potter being sort of banded around. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else was there. But it just seemed right, to be fair. It just seemed and felt right that Lee Carsley could make the step up. You don't have to bring in like an outside. Well, I mean, we've only had like a foreign manager on 2 occasions. We didn't need to go down that route.
Yes, Sven and Capello, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Potter hadn't been in a job for however long, and was being sort of mentioned in the same breath as being England manager. Eddie Howe, obviously at Newcastle, was another one, but he seems quite settled there at the moment. I think it's literally just been such an easy transition for Carsley to come in and take over the reins that there hasn't been much sort of shift needed. To me, yeah, I'm more than happy with it, providing you can get the results on the pitch. If it doesn't go right in these next, well, they haven't officially said how many games he's got. I think the general consensus is it will be this Nations League campaign. But there's no one out there I can see that would be any better suited than Lee Carsley, to be honest.
Bill, what do you think from an outside point of view in terms of, I know you were high on Lee Carsley getting the Ireland job, so you're probably going to be biased here. But like in terms of Lee Carsley managing England, do you think he's a good viable option for England?
Yeah, like I think with international football, it's as you said, it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about kind of just moving to different parts. And I think England have an awful lot of good players. Anyone who says otherwise is quite frankly deluded. I wasn't a fan of Southgate. I thought he was overly negative. However, Carsley did bring a more positive, on the face of it, a more positive approach with the England under 17s when they won the World Cup, and now the 21s, or previously the 21s too. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how does Carsley want to do it. Does he go for continuity? In a way, he's gone with continuity from his 21 squads by bringing the likes of Gomez. Look, I know he was linked with the Ireland job, and an awful lot of people are blaming the FAI and the like for Carsley not getting it. Personally, I can understand why it didn't happen. I believe I would blame the association for it, but like saying that, I don't wish any bad will on Carsley. Like I don't want necessarily England do well, but I think if with the names that are being touted about, you can't go wrong with Carsley really. I know there's Eddie Howe, there's Potter. If they wanted to be really bold, they go for Ollie, but I'll live that dream. But yeah, I think Carsley's a good choice.
Yeah, I think Carsley is a good choice. He plays attacking football, and the fact he's managed through the underages as well. I think there's like Russell mentioned a minute ago. There's a smooth transition, but like Eddie Howe still at a club effectively in midway through a Premier League season, which isn't ideal. And then like Graham Potter, maybe Potter would be a good option because like I think he has a reputation from working with young players, albeit didn't go well at Chelsea. But you look at Chelsea since, I think most managers have struggled there, even post Potter as well. So like I do think you can maybe disregard maybe the Chelsea for international football anyway. I do think like look at some of the jobs Potter's got linked with recently, like Man United and Spurs and other jobs. Maybe they would have been maybe a bit too big for him on a club level, but I do think international football would probably suit him a lot better. But I think Russell's right. You look at a couple of names that have been touted about, it's probably best to maybe stick with Carsley, at least after Nations League, and then reassess from there. Like,
yeah, I was coming there because it's an agenda really. I've seen Steve Cooper previously linked with the job, and I can categorically say that Steve Cooper managing England would probably be worse than Gareth Southgate.
Really?
I can't stand him.
He not managed the under-21s a few years ago, though.
I know he won the under-17s.
Under-17s World Cup in India, wasn't it?
Yeah. But Gomez captain that actually with Bellingham.
Yeah, so like I think like look, there's a few options out there, but like when you look at, I think maybe Carsley is probably the best one right now, and then maybe reassess after the campaign and see who's available. Like, let's just hypothetically speak here, because I don't want to be held liable for anything here. Let's say at the end of the season, a certain case of financial allegations get found guilty, let's say, and there's a certain manager available at the end of the season. Would the FA make a run for him? You know what I mean?
You know what? I think said manager might be too expensive, to be honest.
The FA are loaded. Surely you'd be able to get him. Surely
purse strings are always tight, aren't they? I personally think this person in question. I don't think he would suit.
Yeah,
he's come through a club side where he can pick and choose who he wants when he needs. And you just can't do that with international football, which is where you go back to like Lee Carsley. He knows the cards that are on the table, and they're the ones he can use. It's not a case of like, oh well, I want that card over there. I'm going to pay X amount of money for that. International football is so different. No, I don't think that he would. I'd be slightly disappointed actually if he did. I don't think I would. I don't think I'd want it.
But you look, I'll basically say it like if like when you look at what he's achieved in club football, this manager, again, I don't want to be held liable for what I'm saying about a certain side club in the Premier League, but he's achieved everything he possibly can. Like he's done it in Spain, done it in Germany, done it in the Premier League, and maybe
he's never done it at international level.
He hasn't done it yet. And Jose has the exact same thing. I think Jose is waiting for that Portugal job. I think like if England had Jose Mourinho in the Euros, they beat Spain in the final. I guarantee it. If England had Mourinho in the final, they would have won because he knows how to win big trophies. But outside of that, like I think Jose and Pep Guardiola, I was going to say, Jose and Pep, right? They're both destined to manage in international football at some stage. Maybe Pep takes Spain, but like England have the money, England have the resources to get him. Plus, he knows a good few of the English players from the Premier League, and he knows the likes of Foden, Cole Palmer, John Stones, Jadon Sancho. He knows, but he got rid of him. But yeah, like I think he's a viable option. Whether England test the water with him at the end of the season, because whether City get found guilty or not, he's possibly leaving at the end of the season.
I think he said that this will be his last season.
Yeah, so I think Guardiola is an option for England. I know today. I know it was rumored that they approached Jurgen Klopp. I don't know how much they actually approached Klopp. Klopp could potentially be an option if a year down the line, if he's not waiting on the Germany job. Like there's different managers out there. Like I think England, I think they have the players right now. Like if you look at the last like 4 tournaments or so, you have the 2018 World Cup, the Euro 2020, 2022 World Cup, and then the Euros just gone. They could have won every single one of them, barring I think there's tactical decisions probably in each game you could probably nail down and say they're unfortunate in them games. I think if England had a more experienced manager, you're not talking about 58 years of hurt. Do you know what I mean? You're not talking about that. You're talking winning a World Cup. I think definitely the Euro 2020 final, 21 final, whichever way you want to spin it.
No.
If you different manager in Southgate, England win that final. Like when I look back at that final, bringing on Jordan Henderson when you're 1-0 up, and someone who doesn't control the football, someone who's not known for controlling a game, he's more of a chaotic midfielder. I look at some of these games, like even England in the 2022 World Cup, you have 4 minutes to go and you're bringing on your top scorer, when he's been scoring the whole World Cup. There's those little decisions that Southgate's made in that time where I think it's bitten England in the backside. And I think as good as Carsley is as a young, promising coach, part of me thinks, and this is obviously speaking from the outside, if I'm England, I try get someone who has pedigree in there to take them to that next step to win them a trophy. Because I think when you talk about the golden generation, who were great and respectively for their clubs, so when you had Rooney, Terry, Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard, Beckham, Michael Owen, you had all them players, but the manager didn't set England up the way they should have. From a 4-4-2 to 4-3-3, you look at England's squad now, like the depth is ridiculous. Like you take Foden out, you can put Palmer in. Oh, you don't want to play Palmer? Okay, you can play Bukayo Saka. Like look at the Euro squad literally just gone. Grealish and Rashford didn't make it. They make most country squads. Do you know what I mean?
Though, to be fair, had an atrocious season, so he wouldn't have justified a place.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm saying, like, if you look at the depth that England have out wide in the middle of the park at centre half, there's so many good players there right now that I think England, for me, if they're going to go on and win things, I think they have to go that next step, get that someone in with pedigree. Now, Carsley could do that because he's had the kind of pedigree in terms of winning at the underages. But I just think if England went and just broke the bank after the Nations League campaign and got someone pedigree, they could definitely dominate in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Megan?
I was just going to say, there are no guarantees, are there? You can pay as much money as you want. There's no guarantees.
I used to go back to the point, if Guardiola was willing and able and they could afford him, you do it. Like, you would do the deal. But I don't think I do fear that he mightn't be best suited to international football. He might get away with Spain, where he knows all the players and he's in kind of embedded in the system. Personally, I think from an English manager perspective, I think they need to look. I'm not an English supporter, but if from an English supporter, you want not necessarily someone who's English, but someone who's grounded in the system, familiar with the players, familiar with the pathways, like Carsley, I'm looking at the odds here, and the favourites, Carsley, Howe, Guardiola, we've all mentioned them. Lampard is there for some insane reason. One name sticks out to me, and it's another bit of an Irish connection, I suppose. Northern Irishman, Kieran McKenna, 25-1.
Yes.
Like I know it'll be tough for him to keep it switch in the league this year, but if he does, I think he's a very viable contender for it because he plays the right brand of football. He's shown his pedigree from going from League One to Premier League in 3 seasons, back-to-back promotions. I keep an eye on Kieran McKenna. I know it's not the Pep Guardiola choice, but McKenna might be a viable option, and he would have the more senior management experience than Carsley as well. So
Yeah, there's plenty of good options there. I do think from England's point of view, it's just a matter of time. I think after this campaign, I think they'll make the big decision then. I think obviously the World Cup coming up in America in 2026, I'd say it'd be sorted out though sooner rather than later. But what I'm going to do now, because we're coming towards the end of the podcast, we're going to get both panel members starting 11 and score predictions for tomorrow's game. Bill, as the home team, going to come to you first. What would be your starting 11 prediction for tomorrow?
I think this isn't necessarily what I play, but I think it's more or less what you would play. You have Keegan Keller in goal, I suppose. You'd have a back three of Jacob O'Brien, Nathan Collins, Darragh O'Shea. And to be honest, you look at the quality of centre backs Ireland has, and there are few countries who could have that level of depth. I think. I think you go Benny on the right, Doherty on the left, was that right wing back or right midfield, left midfield, whatever way you want to call it. And there's an issue in midfield. I suppose you don't have Cullen, so he's not really. We don't have really kind of a holder or kind of a fixed bit, for want of a better phrase. So I think you're going to see a midfield three of Malumbi, Smallbone, and Knight. And I think you've seen Knight employed in defensive roles previously. Malumbi, I think he's a bit of a shithouse, and I think there's a lot more to come from him. At Smallbone, well, he started off as a 10, I think he's more of an 8. It'll kind of be a collective effort. I'm not sure, will they have someone sitting deeper? How to position it? I think
it'll be like a kind of flat 3, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
I think it'll be that, and maybe Knight will be, because he has legs, will be allowed to push a bit further, maybe.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it'd be a flash 3 because there's not a standing of 6 there, and I know people make the argument that a 4-1-2-3-1 or is more attacking because it's a single pivot than a 4-2-3-1. From my perspective, a 4-2-3-1 is actually more attacking because you play with 2 8s. But I think then you have the front two of Ida and Schmolix.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that too much. I think that's what's probably going to be. I do think against Greece, I'd probably want to be a bit more attacking in a couple of days' time, with the options we have in our squad. But I do think, he's probably going to go with the same kind of formation John O'Shea was going with against the likes of Belgium and Portugal. Russell, for yourself, I know it's a bit of a changed squad that you do have, but what do you predict the England's 11 will be tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to rattle through this because my battery's gone ever so low very quickly. Pickford in goal is a given. We've talking about Trent. Let's throw him in at right back. I'm going to pick Levi Colwill. Go left back. Centre half pairing of Maguire and Stones. It just gives that experience.
Yeah.
We've mentioned Declan Rice. I imagine he's going to get the reception that you will know he's going to get given. He's going to start. Kobe Mainoo, we mentioned. I think he's going to put in Angel Gomez as well.
Yeah.
I think he's going to start with one of the 4 uncapped players. He's going to be him. Harry Kane, obviously captain, will be in. Bukayo Saka, and then I wonder, is he going to start Jack Grealish? Obviously, he didn't play in the Euros. He may bring Grealish.
I think we just lost Russell, did we?
I think so.
Let's give it a second here. I think we just lost him just right there at the last second. Yeah, I think he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like he's gone with 11 of Pickford. Then we have Trent, Maguire, Stones, and Levi Colwell left back, and then he went with a midfield two of Mainu and Declan Rice, and then attacking three of Saka and Angel Gomez and Jack Grealish on the left, and then he went to Harry Kane up top. I was going to get Russell's score prediction off him right before he left there, but I think his phone probably went dead. But on that, Bill, I'm going to get. I was going to go to Russell first for your score prediction, but I'm going to go to you now. What's your score prediction for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, look, in terms of, I think just the hardest possible game Hemir could have as Ireland manager when it comes to the quality of opposition and even the historical context behind it. England are nationally comfortable favourites, and I think, look, as much as I'd love to see Ireland put on a result, I think they should have too much. I think as well, if I predict England to win by several goals, then Ireland will put on a performance. So I'm actually going 3-0 to England.
So Bill's going 3-0 England. I can't get Russell's score prediction, so I'm going to have to give one. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1, and I'm going to go... Who will score for Ireland, if anyone? Will it be Harry Maguire?
I know on goal.
Do you know what I'll go with, just for the crack? I'll go Declan Rice own goal in the 95th minute. That'll just be poetic justice. No, actually, no, I won't take the piss here. I'll go Nathan Collins off a set piece. That's what I'll go with, because he's my guy. He's my guy. And I'm not going to mention Nathan Collins in the 6 before people have a fucking heart attack. Because
don't go there.
Yeah, I've seen people being riled up about it on Twitter, and I kind of tongue-in-cheek mentioned it 6 months ago and got the head bit off me, so I'm not going to do it again.
I probably did it like
no, it wasn't you, but someone else came for me on Twitter because I said Collins would be a decent 6, not suggesting that to play him there, but I was like, he has the kind of attributes to play there, and it was just, I got shit kicked out of me on Twitter, so I'm not going down that avenue again. But on that note, we will wrap up there from there. And thanks very much to Bill and also Russell for coming on the show this evening. Last minute gig for me. I haven't been on in a couple of weeks. Actually, maybe about 2 months now, actually, since the Premier League ended. I was on the last talk the league, so I probably won't be back on for a while. Was I coming in taking over last second from Evan? But you will catch Dara on the next preview show. I believe it is. Christ, I have a season ticket. I don't know who we're playing next. Man United. We're playing Southampton away in the league. Southampton away in the league. So I dare to say they'll be talking about Eric Ten Hag's future then. So I know people love that type of stuff. And catch Evan and the lads and Jonathan and the boys on Talk the League as well when it's on. And do check out Bill on Twitter at Blog Irish, at Irish Football Blog, and also Republic of Ireland player tracker as well. On there, they do great work on covering Irish football, and actually, in honest truth, it actually done me a favor in terms of following the younger teams and following progression of young Irish players. So the lads do God's work over there. So do check them out as well. But on that note, we will end tonight's podcast. Hopefully, Ireland can go out and put on a good performance, and maybe, just maybe, get the result tomorrow that we're all looking for in Declan Rice own goal. But anyway.